Hello, LucyRose Walker and everybody who has joined us here today. This is a wonderful platform where I am very honoured to have the privilege to speak to incredible individuals, not just in the same industry, but in different industries and also internationally, like today. LucyRose Walker is in Spain, and I'm going to have some great interview questions lined up, but let me tell you a little bit about LucyRose first. So she's the co-founder of Misadventures in Entrepreneuring, and this is very exciting, which we will come on to shortly. And LucyRose was also the co-founder for the brilliant Entrepreneurial Spark, which enabled 4,000 entrepreneurs around the UK and also saw the growth of 12 accelerator hubs also throughout the UK, starting in Glasgow up in Scotland way back in 2012. Now, in February 2018, Entrepreneurial Spark was sold, and since then Lucy has been doing some wonderful work. And a little bit about the Misadventures in Entrepreneuring: it has a podcast, they're coaching, they're also doing mindset research, and there's a book that goes out in September, not to mention the website, which, by the way, I absolutely love. So without further ado, let's start the interview. LucyRose, how are you today? How's things?
I'm doing wonderful, Emily. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm feeling really good at the moment, actually. I think lockdown is a bit of a roller coaster for everybody, but today is a good day.
I like it, and I have to say you are glowing. So that Spanish sun is treating you very kindly. You look lovely.
I know. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it's amazing because I mean, being in Spain is fantastic and it's just so sunny. So you literally just you'd think I was lying out in the sun, but I'm absolutely not. It's just been walking the dog and just generally pottering around.
Well, that all sounds really, really nice. And I know that I think you've sent some of the sun over very kindly to the UK. So thank you for that. I've been steadily trying to top up my tan, but it's a little bit grey today, nonetheless. Now, LucyRose, you are a natural people developer, and you did a degree in psychology, which I find incredibly fascinating because how everything operates, all the decision making that goes on in the world is all linked to that human behavior. And during this time, during lockdown, there's such a correlation with the way that everybody's spending their days, the decisions that they are making because of the psychological impact of what has been happening. And how have you found lockdown for you personally and the people that you know? What would you say it's been like?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to describe it because it has impacted everybody and in a very psychological way. And I think the thing I read quite early on was somebody had said, remember, we're all riding the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. Mm-hmm. Really sort of resonated with me because everybody is experiencing it in different ways because of the circumstances that you're in. So for me, it's been the desire not to put too much pressure on yourself, and try not to be constantly feeling like you have to be productive and you have to be doing things. And yes, I should have learned Spanish by now. I mean, what is my excuse? So it's just trying not to put too much pressure on and just going with the flow, because some days you wake up and it's like, I just don't feel great. So I'm just going to run with that today, and that's okay. And with friends and family around, talking to them a lot more, as I have done during lockdown, which has been great. And again, some people have good days and some people don't have as good days. It just really depends what's going on in your own world.
Yeah. And what would you say in terms of, during this time whilst you're in the home, what has been your guilty pleasure?
That's an interesting one. So I've been very lucky. Well, yeah, I know I have been very lucky. No, my parents got locked down in Spain, so they've been staying up the road. So we've been able to see them to a certain degree. So I'm gonna say my mum's lemon drizzle cake has been a guilty pleasure that she's been delivering on a very regular basis, which has been fantastic. And the other one would be my jigsaw. My friend sent me a jigsaw very kindly, and it's just been amazing. I've loved it. Just a great sort of zone out. I used to do them when I was younger with my grandparents, and I forgot. I love them.
I think jigsaws have been really popular. I know we've got some friends who've been doing them, and because your mind, like you say, you're totally tuned out, and
Yeah.
concentration 100% is trying to find the next jigsaw piece, and it's something so therapeutic.
I completely forgot how amazing it was. So yeah, no, I'm loving it. I'm going to order myself another one. Lockdown or no lockdown.
The ultimate jigsaw. You should take some pictures and share it. Like,
I will.
yeah, that's it. And accompanied by the biggest slice of lemon drizzle cake. Oh,
I know, exactly.
divine. Divine. I actually have a slice of cake now.
Yes.
Yeah, just to top it up, you know.
I know. So good.
And so with lockdown and going through this process, I know that your journey with Gail Mann and Misadventures in entrepreneuring has been happening during this time, and you're also doing some mindset research just now, which has started very recently, and you've got the podcast and the book coming out in September. But how have you found that journey so far, working with Gail? And you have such a great relationship, and you can see that on the website. The pictures are fantastic of you both, very relaxed, very natural, very honest and authentic. And I think that that's captured in the book. But what's that journey been like, LucyRose?
Again, it's one of those ones that it has its ups and downs. We interestingly, and we talk about this on the podcast that's coming out in the middle of June, is we had sort of got to a point at Christmas where we weren't really sure whether we were going to continue or not. And that was really because the book was coming to fruition, and we'd done our first season of the podcast, and I'm not a natural starter. I like to be involved when there's, the essence of something, and then I help grow it. So that's been a bit difficult for me, sort of tinkering around. And so it wasn't really until we hit lockdown, actually, that the two of us we love chaos, and we love making order out of chaos. So when chaos hit, it was like we ran into it, and that was us. We were like right in there. And for us, it was about how can we help entrepreneurs? What can we do? So that's been really interesting, because over the last 4 months, we were like, right, we're just going to create, and our initial reaction was just create a safe space for entrepreneurs to come and discuss how they're feeling. So we had a call every couple of times a week, and just had a great group of people that we called our tribe, who came together. And sometimes we just had different themes, and they could talk about different things. So we've been doing that, been doing a bit of coaching, and then, as I say, kicked off this mindset research, which has just been fantastic and really fascinating, and looking at linking the mindset development of the entrepreneur with the ultimate success of the entrepreneur in the business, and whatever that means to them. And we're really trying to hone in on that. So our first step of that is working with UCL and looking at decision making, particularly around COVID. So that's the research that we've just kicked off.
It's very interesting, and it'll be very exciting to see where that goes, because you mentioned before we started recording the interview, that entrepreneur, like the life of an entrepreneur can be quite lonely, and having that safe space, as you've mentioned, where those entrepreneurs could dial in with you and Gail and speak openly and quite frankly, and feel that there is a community that you've created where that honest, conversation, communication, where that can actually take place. And I think that's really important, and especially during this time, communication's been king, really, and making sure that people stay connected as much as possible, and find that platform where they can do it and be vulnerable at the same time. Would you say that you've seen more vulnerabilities come out in those conversations, and a way that people are trying to find a solution for them at the same time? What did it look like?
Yeah, I think we actively encourage vulnerability in the type of language you use and the questions that we ask, but people have been really open to that and really wanting to share and just be honest, as you say, about how they're feeling and what would be helpful from the other people around them, because it's been about sharing as well, ideas and support and things. So yeah, I think it's allowed that instant kind of, oh God, this is what's happening, but also, well, how can I move forward, and what can I learn from you, and what can I take away, and making another group of friends. There's often, for some people, they don't have an online group. It's always been a physical group that they've had of people, business people that they've worked with. So to be able to give them that kind of online support has been really important. And then, as I say, share different ideas with each other as well, which has been important. And I think that has been one of the big things coming out of COVID, is being the human element, and is about the human connection, just being human. The people who have really strived and done really well have the people who have remembered the human beings and put them first. And you can really just see that and feel that.
It's a landscape of human behavior, coming back to that psychology and the way in which people have chosen to, if you like, interact at this time. They've had that decision in front of them as to whether to open up and share what their day or their routine has truly looked like, or whether to put that screen up and hide what's really happening and put another version on. And I suppose all the great work that you're doing, LucyRose, and in that mindset research and what you're really getting under the hood and unveiling, if you like, is trying to remove that latter one, the one where there's the screen going up. And I think in doing so, people will warm and feel more assured that their decision making is actually more on a par with other entrepreneurs. Because I do think there's a temptation at the moment where if the screen is up and that's all you see, and it's a very mixed load of messages that might make people make the wrong decision because they're trying to fit into this which actually doesn't exist. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we refer to it as comparisonitis. And that's been the danger, has been you try to compare yourself to other people, but you can never know what's fully going on. You really can. And as you say, often people will put on this brave face or this screen of what's happening, but under the hood, there's so much more going on. So it's got to be about being true to yourself and what's important to you, and just being your own version of an entrepreneur, whatever that means for you and whatever is important for your business as well. So it's about not trying to quickly copy somebody else or have a knee-jerk reaction. It's just kind of, well, okay, so you can learn from other people, that's great, and you can see what else is going on, but don't be pressured into doing anything that doesn't feel right. And I think that's a real danger for a lot of entrepreneurs, is that the perception is so different from the reality, and there's a lot of skewed perceptions of what people think they should be like as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned very openly and very honestly as well, LucyRose, about at Christmas time where, you had that moment where you were wondering, what do we do next? Do we continue down this path? And then something ignited amongst the chaos, and it, you know, if you like, kick-started the strength of what you will achieve. And in September, the book launches. In June, the podcast goes out there. What do you envisage, and what does Gail envisage jointly in 6 months from now? Where would you like to see this sort of sitting? Where would you like it positioned in the way in which entrepreneurs interact with it, and what they take from it?
It's a great question, and I think one that we are looking at in detail at the moment. I mean, there's two parts to that. There's one, you know, we would love people to listen to the podcast and flick through the book and really just take some inspiration and some sort of feeling from it that's like, okay, I am normal, and whatever that means. Yeah, exactly. Oh God, everyone else is making this up. Okay, this is good. I can do this. I think another byproduct of particularly the back of what we've just seen in the last few months and still very much living is there will be an increase in entrepreneurs, and that is a great thing, but it's also something to be wary of because it isn't for everybody. So we would love that the stories we are telling and the people we're speaking to who are telling the real story of what it feels like help other people work out if it is right for them. Yeah. And then I think as well, the last bit is around we're creating a set of tools, for use of a better word, to go alongside the book that really will help you to work on yourself as an entrepreneur. One of the things we talked about recently was that being an entrepreneur is hard work. But actually the use of the word hard for us is about the work you have to do internally. That's the really difficult bit. And that's the bit that often is hard to make time for, and gets pushed to the side. So we want to think about, well, how can we help you work on that internal world, that you can then help understand yourself as an entrepreneur better. So for us, it's about doing this research to create the best toolkit that we can that help you on your adventure. You're going to have misadventures, but we want to make sure you're equipped and ready for them. So that's really what we aim to do over the next 6 months.
I love the fact that you've called it Misadventures in entrepreneuring, because in essence, you're creating and championing the real life of an entrepreneur, and you're going to have almost like, here's a job description, here's the desirable, here's the essential, you must work on yourself. And much like any other job application, I suppose, you wouldn't expect to get a job description and then start the job and it is nothing like it, because it'd make it very superficial. But the work and all of the results and the information and insight that you and Gail will gain and then be able to share with everybody, it's almost like this gateway to the entrepreneur job description. Yes. Do you want to jump in and join the party? And some will say yes, some will think, oh my God, this is not what I signed up for. But that honesty is king at the heart, isn't it? And I honestly cannot sort of champion you enough, because I don't think that there's anything like this being done out there at the moment at all, that gets to the heart of something that is very lonely and can be very challenging, and people get too nervous to share when something has gone wrong. So what you are doing is celebrating that. Do you think that's something that is instilled within British culture almost? Have you seen anything culturally that's different when it comes to that honesty and that real life situation of an entrepreneur and what they experience?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point actually around the British culture, because I think we are quite reserved, and don't necessarily like talk about, the things that go wrong. There's also been quite a lot around failure, and obviously this kind of fear of failure and not wanting to discuss that. And I think, there's not really anywhere where I've seen that people have championed, I suppose, the honest approach of being an entrepreneur in the way in which we're doing it, in the sense of it being it's unavoidable to actually go through the challenges that you go through, because that's just part of the journey. But it's trying to make sure that you can pick yourself up when you fall down, or to maybe go over something rather than through it or under it, you know. So it's just about helping you work on yourself. And it's something that we would love to be part of the entrepreneurial culture, and just something that is part of the course. So like people tell you, you need to learn to do your accounts, and you need a business model canvas, and you know, there's all the practical things, but it's actually like, well, before you start to market or to work out all these bits, have you actually worked on you, and what type of entrepreneur are you? Well, how are your values? Like, how are you going to show up? What's important? So those are all the things that you really need to think about, and also being prepared for what, for us, the sort of turning point is what you think is going to happen initially versus actually what it looks like a couple of years in, because it's never going to look like what you think it's going to look like. And so it's kind of like, are you prepared for that? And do you want to be doing everything that every day? Because the same stuff that you were doing on the first day. So it's just checking in with yourself on that journey, but knowing how to do that.
I think you might have started a season or a series there, LucyRose, and this is part 1 coming in September, and then there's a few more sections to it. That could be quite fun, because it's entrepreneuring through the ages, isn't it? And yes, like you say, when you first start out, what you think it'll look like versus what it actually looks like, and then where you are a few years on from there versus what that can, you know, be like in your mind versus the reality. And so I know I loosely suggested putting a GoPro on an entrepreneur, I can't even say it now, put my teeth in, an entrepreneur's like hat or cap, and you know, see what it looks like. I think the cats and dogs involved, wouldn't they, if they're all still at home? But it would be quite funny, I suppose. Yeah.
No, very much so, definitely. And it's the other thing that we talk a lot about is the success. So everybody's version of success is different. And that is so important, because to think about, well, why did I do this? Like, what is important to me? And therefore, when will I know when I've reached where I want to be? And it's not about you're going to stop, but like, you know, did I start this because I wanted to have a more flexible life, or, you know, and like, I'm 2 years in, have I even got anywhere close to that? So it's kind of like, what is important, and why to you and not to anybody else. That's the main thing.
It's quite subjective in that respect, and there's objective points and subjective points, and it's marrying the two, isn't it? So that you go on a journey that makes you feel that you have invested your time for your personal success or choice, as it were. And in terms of that, what would you say, LucyRose, has been, if there might be many, I'm sure there will be, but what is there a standout moment for you where you look back and think that was a really marked milestone for me, that, you know, has marked success, whatever that may have been, or how you were measuring it? And again, if you're happy to share it, I appreciate. Some of those are just for yourself, and some that you know, people hear about and it's public information when, you know, you're filing your accounts and yes, we've hit that target of X amount of turnover. But like you say, it's success comes in many ways. What's been one of yours that you've adored?
I mean, it's got to be the growth of Entrepreneurial Spark, and I think the two parts for that for me were touching the lives and being part of the journey of so many entrepreneurs, which was such a privilege to be able to support them and help them. And the second part of that was the team that we grew and developed, and working with the most amazing people and helping them develop as individuals, and now watching where they've all gone on to and what they're doing. that for me is success, and that is because that's what's important to me. And so just, I feel very strongly about helping other people to achieve the life they want to lead and to be able to do what they want to do. So I feel very privileged to have been able to help so many people to achieve that in, as we said, whatever guise that looks like for them.
It is, and over, I think 6 years it was in total,
Yep.
and that,
Yeah.
4,000 entrepreneurs you
Yeah.
enabled, and the growth of 12 accelerator hubs, and the interview that, we're here today. I know you, LucyRose, because I was one of those people on that journey and part of the Entrepreneurial Spark in Leeds, and what a journey that was. Wow. So I, have a lot to be thankful for, and where there are people and places and experiences that I've had, that has been a direct correlation and result of what you created. So I'm very grateful, and I'd like to say thank you very much for that, because it's very nice to be able to have that opportunity to say thank you, but it's wonderful to see that also meant so much to you to create that for 4,000 people. And I'm
Yeah,
I'm sure I'm
it
not
just makes
speaking on my own.
No, but that's so lovely to say, because that's what makes it worthwhile. Hearing you say that is what makes doing it worthwhile, and all of the misadventures that come with
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, there's a few.
Very interesting. Well, LucyRose, before we go, I asked everybody, is there one piece of advice or a hack or something that's from the heart that you want to share with the audience, whether it's something personal or business, during this time? Just a great piece of advice to keep us all sane and savvy, as it were.
Oh, we've talked about quite a few today, so let me try and think of something that's different. I think I just can't, I've got to always just come back to, well, actually, I'll tell you a story. I had a conversation this morning with somebody that I'm coaching, and she's got so much, she's trying to be so productive, and she's in a startup and it's just so busy. And I said to her, do you know what? It's okay to say no.
Yeah.
And, I think you've got to remember, in every moment, you have a choice of how you spend your time. And it's absolutely your time. It's nobody else's time. Yes, ultimately you will work for certain people, but you know the parameters in which you work. And she said to me, oh, I did say no. And I said, but if you can't find somebody else, then come back to me. So I said, you didn't say no, you said maybe. So say no, say it with a smile on your face, but don't say maybe. And just remember that you always have a choice.
You do always have a choice, and thank you for sharing and reiterating that. I think the power of no is something that's very underestimated, and if you were offering me lemon drizzle cake though, I would have to say yes. There would be there'd be no no's there. Lemon drizzle cake for the win. Yes, 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 yes. And anybody who says no, they don't belong in the lemon drizzle cake camp. So,
Right.
But very true, LucyRose. The power of no is very powerful, and can take you on quite a stark different journey, actually, just with
very much so. It really can.
Well, it's been such a pleasure. It really, really has, and a delight to have this interview with you. And thank you for being so open and sharing your journey, what you've been up to, and how things are going. And I wish you every success, and Gail, with the launch of the podcast in June and the book in September. But thank you very much.
No, Emily, it's been really lovely. Thank you so much for having me on, and all the best for you as well.
Thank you very much. Well, take care. Have a gorgeous rest of your afternoon. Keep topping up that lovely tan. Send the sun over as well so we can do the same, and we'll catch up soon.
Yes, thank you.
Lovely. Take care. Bye.
Bye.